Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over 3 games that I played recently live on my Twitch stream. Link in description, by the way. I want to make a video about these games, however, each one of them didn't seem like really enough to make a whole video about each one. So I'm just going to be putting them all in this one video. So, one of the games is a normal chess game, and 2 of them are actually Chess 960 games. I've been playing that recently on my stream a lot. So this game was really cool because I actually had 3 sacrifices in this game. I had 2 pawn sacrifices and a bishop sacrifice, which was actually a brilliant move. This was super awesome. This was really fun. Let's get into it. So it was a Slav exchange. And the first thing you'll notice, the first important move here is this h6 move. I have no idea why he played this, but interestingly enough, this h6 move actually causes him some big problems later on the line, later down in the game. But we're going, developing, everything's pretty standard. Plays this a6 move, again, just kind of wasting a turn. I mean, I guess technically I can't like pin his knight now, but you know, I never really wanted to do that. And you know, you can just go here and it's not really that big of a deal. He just really didn't want to get pinned, so whatever. Just developing normally. And he plays bishop g4, pinning my knight. Now, usually this would be a bit annoying because the bishop's, you know, pinning your knight. If you want to get rid of it, you have to play something like this because, you know, going h3 in g4 is usually not considered good because you're pushing the pawns that would be in front of your king after you castle. And so, you know, it limits your castling options, especially because I probably don't want to be castling queenside in this position with the open c-file. However, because of this h6 move, I actually calculate that in this position, I'm going to ignore that general rule. And, you know, of course, if he takes here, that's just good. I got my queen out, you know, whatever. Okay, he goes here, and I go g4 because it forces this move here. Technically, he could play g5, but then I just move the bishop, and it's pretty much the same. But it forces his bishop to g6, where I exchange, and now this diagonal's open, and he has these weak pawns here. And I can immediately attack that weak pawn with queen to d3. There's 2 ways to defend this pawn. There's g5, which is the top engine move, or the second top engine move, which is what he played, is king f7. And you know, now he's defended, but these pawns are still weak. Now he can't castle. His king's kind of stuck in the center a little bit. It's going to be difficult for king safety for me. If you look at the analysis, it's already plus 1.6 here. And so what I do is I go knight to e5. What this does is it forces him to exchange here because if he doesn't, I'm going to take this pawn. Even if the knight wasn't attacking this, he would have to move his king away somewhere, and then I could take it with my queen, or I could also take it with my knight. So it forces him to exchange, and here I take with the pawn. I get double pawns, but I'm forcing his knight out, and I'm kind of taking some center space. He goes here, and this is a fine move, but it does lose a pawn. The top engine line here is actually to take the knight and then take the pawn with the queen, and it's plus 1.3, very good for white. What I actually did was, what was worse was to force a queen exchange. If you notice, the analysis is now down to even. The reason I wanted to force a queen exchange is because, like I mentioned before, I pushed these pawns here. I was a bit scared that I might have some king safety issues down the line. I didn't want to run into that. Exchange queens, and now, you know, I'm not going to really have issues castling because he doesn't have a queen, and it'll be fine. He goes here to kick out my knight, and the best move here would have been knight to b6, which is a very nice move. Gets the knight to safety, very good square for it, and it comes with a tempo on the rook. However, I play a slightly inaccurate move, knight to c3, and this move loses a pawn to what he played, bishop e4. Because if I go rook to c1, he can just play either rook to c8, and he gets the pawn later. So instead of playing that, I go rook to d1, thinking that I'm going to start attacking on this file. I don't care about this pawn. You can take it if you want. And he does. Takes the pawn. He's got his knight there. Now, I do think taking with the knight first would have been better, because that way this is check and I'm going to have to move my king and then I can't castle, you know. Actually it says king to e2, which is interesting, because you just get a tempo back. You know, this line, you don't get that free tempo at the end and prevention of me castling. Now I go rook to d7, and you know, now I'm kind of getting a bit closer to him. He can play king to e8 to attack my rook, but I'm going here anyways, and you know, maybe he doesn't want his king so centralized, right? So he goes king here, preparing to go king to h7. I take this pawn, he takes this pawn, and we've exchanged. Now, at this point I notice, wait, this bishop, I might actually be losing here. What is this bishop doing? I've got to do something about this bishop, or else I'm just going to lose this game, because he's basically up a piece unless I get this bishop out. You know, it can't go anywhere. It can go to these squares, but that's not useful. You know, what is it doing here? It's still on the pretty useless diagonal. So I go ahead and play e4, preparing to move my bishop back to d2. Here he just goes ahead and hides his king on h7, which is it's a fine move. However, it allows me to, instead of immediately moving my bishop to d2, I play g5. Now g5 is trying to control this h6 square, and it comes with the threat of it taking this pawn. So I'm fine with playing this before moving my bishop. And of course, if he does take it, I simply get my bishop out, and I get this semi-open file here. It is still completely even. The engine says, however, I did like this. You know, maybe bishop f6, moves like that. So instead of taking it or ignoring it, he played h5. h5, again, it's fine. It's fine for black that you know, they had to play that. However, I'm controlling this h6 square below the king, and I'm also pressuring this pawn. So I go ahead and castle. He goes and attacks his pawn with the knight. I just defend it with the rook. He attacks my bishop, and I'm fine with that. I wanted to move my bishop anyways. I can even move my bishop out and attack the knight at the same time. He goes knight there. I go bishop here, threatening his rook, and now he plays rook f4 to pressure this pawn here. And here comes the first sacrifice of the game. Now this isn't actually the best move, but it worked out very well, and the engine doesn't think it's a bad move. It just doesn't think it's it doesn't love it. Rook to d1. He can completely take this pawn. He does take it. In fact, that is the best move, is taking this pawn. My idea with this move is now I'm going to d7, and you know, his king is looking really bad right here. What it wants him to do, interestingly, is you take the bishop, and then at this point it's just a complete draw. You know, I would just keep checking him. I'm down a piece. At no point would I want to I'd like try and win this game, because I'm down a piece. The best thing to do here is just force the draw. However, instead of taking the bishop, he defends it with the rook. And this allows the second and third sacrifice of the game. Bishop f8. This sacrifices the pawn, and it sacrifices the bishop. And also what it does is it puts another attacker on this square that you can't really defend. You can't move any piece to defend this g7 square. Of course, if you were to take the bishop, because this square is controlled by the pawn, it is just checkmate. Hold on. It would just be forced checkmate. So instead of taking the bishop, he goes ahead and takes the free pawn, which is the top engine move, it says. So I go ahead and take this pawn. I'm threatening the rook and potentially threatening some sort of discovered attack for checkmate. So what he does is he picks up this pawn, and you'll notice I'm now no longer controlling h6 because he took this pawn with check. However, even though the pawn has been captured, its influence lives on, and you'll see I'm actually able to get the checkmate because of this pawn, even though it's no longer on the board. You'll see, I move my king, and he takes the bishop. And the idea of sacrificing the rook for the bishop isn't actually what's wrong here. Notice the eval just went to mate in 5. What the computer wants, that wasn't the issue with the move. What the computer wants is to go here, threatening to take the rook and then take the bishop. And then after rook to e7, taking this, and then the king can escape to g5. Now the reason, and this is basically even because, of course, you know, I'm up in exchange, but black has these pawns. This is pretty even position. Now, the reason you want to move this rook first, is because you're opening g5. And what I meant by saying this pawn's influence extends beyond the grave, basically, is because even though the pawn's gone, the rook is on that square. It's covering the escape square for the king. So now once he takes, I take back. If he goes here, it's just mate 1 because of this covered square here. You know, again, if this rook was here, king could just escape. Instead, he goes king to h8, and now I play rook g to d7. This move is just forced mate. I'm threatening the back rank ladder mate. Actually says the best move is rook to g2, just to delay it for 1 turn, and then, you know, it's just, you know, block with the knight here. That's the only reason it's not mate in 1 is because he can sacrifice some pieces. So that was very, very interesting. I basically sacrificed these 2 pawns here and sacrificed the bishop on f8 to get my very powerful rooks on the 2nd rank. So, you know, this shows, or sorry, the 7th rank. This shows the value of getting your rooks on the 7th rank, that even though I sacrificed material to get there, it was so valuable that it won me the game. And now we will look at the second game. Like I said, this game is a chess 960 game. I think I said that. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I didn't. But this is a chess 960 game. If you'll notice here, look at the starting position. The queen side is kind of hotly contested. But by the way, if you don't know, chess 960 is a variant of chess where the starting position is random and all the pieces are on random squares. That's why they're on the different squares here. There's a few restrictions, like the king has to be in between the rooks. But I think that's it. So something I should have noticed at the beginning, which I didn't, is that castling queenside is basically never going to be an option here. I do end up castling queenside later, and it causes me a lot of issues. And again, I should have realized, because you can easily put this bishop here. You know, this bishop's already staring, or you could put it here, and this rook and this queen. The knights are there. Castling queenside should never be in the question here. But let's get started. I push this pawn forward. I like that I could move this knight out here to defend it. And we both shinkoto our bishops here on the same square. And, you know, pretty basic development here. I wasn't so sure about this move because you can't put your queen here because, errors. Because my bishop's already controlling it. You know, it ended up fine, of course. Because there, we're just developing. You know, normally he castles. By the way, if you don't know castling rules, in chess 960, it's basically just the same castling position, just whichever side you castle on, same as in normal chess. And at the moment when I was playing the game, I was like, oh, you know, do you really want to castle kingside? Because you've extended some pawns here, and you're kind of attacking from here, so I figured, like, I don't know if that was the best idea, but again, like I said at the beginning, what my opponent noticed that I didn't was that castling kingside needed to happen. So when I played this f4 move, that was a mistake, because I should have realized that I need to castle kingside, and I shouldn't have opened up this diagonal so much, or, you know, at least have this pawn defending here. But, you know, I didn't notice that until later after the game. I'm here developing, and here I castle queenside, and my opponent immediately punishes me, lunging forward with the knight, pressuring this pawn, and starting to launch an attack. We are, you know, he's rerouting his pieces here, and I'm realizing I'm in some big danger. I have to counterattack. I go h4. I'm just like, I'm in panic mode now. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have to do something. I need to counterattack, or else it's just over. I can't defend from an attack like this. My only option is a counterattack. And he keeps attacking with a5, and like, I'm really scared here. I'm getting my pieces ready. I'm attacking. Takes there. And, you know, this move here was a mistake because, I mean, it loses a piece because he didn't realize that this was check. However, you know, I mean, he still does have a good position here just because his attack is so good, but it's going to be hard for him to defend. He also hangs that pawn, which does cause big issues for him. Here this happens. I give him a check. I defend my rook with the bishop, and, you know, I'm trying to attack somehow, maybe somehow getting in on this diagonal. I really have no idea. I'm just trying to figure it out. He takes this pawn. And this move here is really annoying. I have no idea what I'm going to do here. I want to somehow, or sorry, this move here. It was this move. I'm forgetting the game. This move here is very, very frustrating because what I want to do is sacrifice my queen and checkmate him somehow. But the issue is that this is check. So if I took this, it would just be check, king up, and then like takes here or something, and then I'm just completely lost. So instead of just sacrificing the queen by not moving it, I take this pawn. Of course, this immediately threatens taking here, and now when he takes my queen, it's not check. At this point, I believe it's forced mate. I put it through the analysis at one point. I'm pretty sure there's no way for him to escape mate here. He does this, trying to do something. Actually, I think it might be a forced draw after like this, and maybe your king tries to escape, or maybe like this, and I think this is probably just going to end up being a draw. Maybe, I don't know. I believe there's some, I'm forgetting it somehow, but I believe there is some sequence here from black that does force a draw, but he misses it, and he gets the checkmate. And this was very cool. It was a very cool game. It was a very big comeback because black had this monstrous attack here with all these pieces, and his light square bishop that is no longer on the board right now. Hold on. This bishop here, this bishop didn't actually end up doing anything, but it was taking control. And yeah, again, I should have realized that castling queenside wasn't an option at the beginning. But, this was very fun because even though I was in so much danger, I had such a monstrous attack here. And even after this queen sack, I don't have my queen, but I don't need my queen because I have, 11 points of material all staring at his king. So I don't need, 9 points of material, the queen, to attack him when I have the 11 points already here. And here is the third and final game. If you notice here, both of these bishops are already fianchettoed. So, you basically start out with two very strong developed pieces at the beginning, and white does have a very big advantage here because I didn't play that one, but I immediately played this because I can have the first turn to take that diagonal right away, and the game has started. Here, he plays this move. I'm not so sure about it. It does just kind of seem like a random check. It does get this pawn, but I get that pawn, and his queen's very close to my king, but I don't think anything's really going to happen here, right? And he exchanges the bishops, and this move here is actually a very big mistake. So, of course, what it's threatening is checkmate on the next move, but with my queen, I can do three things at the same time. I'm defending checkmate, I'm attacking the knight, and I'm skewering the knight to checkmate. So if you just want to protect this knight, I get checkmate. So what he has to do is sacrifice the knight. I take with the queen, maybe taking with the rook was better, but, to maintain the checkmate threat, but I figured he would just play this. And I don't really want his queen on the board, especially since I'm up a piece. So we just exchanged queens. And this move here, he was just defending this pawn. I'm honestly not sure why he didn't just go here, but whatever, I guess it's fine. Castles, and castling here was another mistake because it doesn't move his king anymore. All it does for him, because of the chess 960 castling rules, is his king was already in the queenside castle position. All it does is put the rook over here. What is the rook doing over there? It's doing nothing. It's not protecting or anything, that would be like an attacking rook, but you need to be defending. I got this rook here, I got these knights, I got this monstrous bishop, and I castle here, and I'm getting ready to just set up all my pieces for the attack. Attacks my knight, he opens this diagonal. I don't think necessarily opening the diagonal was bad. It ends up bad for him, but I honestly don't know what else you would really do here. You can try and develop the knight, but you need to get that bishop out eventually. It's a very difficult thing to play for black with the conundrum of opening this diagonal or not, because how else would you move the bishop? You have to move this pawn to move the bishop, but it doesn't end up with big issues. I go here, I am threatening this, he goes there, and I move my knight in. moving this knight comes with a big threat. He doesn't see it. He just tries to exchange, I guess. But what this knight was threatening is check here, and after the king moves over, I can take this pawn. Actually, sorry, I believe he moved the king here. I take this pawn, I defend the knight, and this pawn is pinned, so he can't take. Okay, you know, he can't take because that would put him in check. He goes there, is, I believe, technically a free pawn, but now his knight's pinned, and, you know, he defends it. I'm just bringing this out. I'm getting ready to, like, you know, start an attack here, just get my knight out of the way, something like that. So here, I attack his knight. He moves it out of the way. Here, I could simply exchange, but I find something much, much better. Knight here. This knight can be taken 2 different ways, and both of them lose. First of all, you take with this. Oh, I mean, and first of all, this move is a triple fork here. So he has to respond to it. He has to take this knight. He can't just move the king somewhere because then I would just get the rook. He took it with the bishop, but if he took it with the pawn, I would just have check here. Once he takes with the bishop, or, you know, if he takes with the bishop, unless he wants to lose a rook, I go here, and at this point, mate is unstoppable. I think you can maybe play something like this, but then I just have this. I don't know, maybe you can go here or something, but I guess maybe just in this. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's some way to force mate here if you block with the knight there, but didn't end up happening. And he took with the bishop, and I sacrifice my other knight. He takes, and now I get my bishop here. And at this point, it also sacrifices my rook, by the way. He takes it, but obviously that's mate 1. Now, again, he can still maybe try and go here. I mean, of course, I could exchange if I wanted, but, you know, maybe I can try and go for a mate here somehow. I think this just wins his knight. I didn't actually really look at this. I guess you could counterattack or something. But yeah, this was, like, honestly, this was probably the best sacrifice I've ever had. I mean, of course I've had queen sacrifices and stuff like that. This is probably the, like, most dramatic, hardest to see sacrifice I've ever played. It was super, super awesome. And this game was really fun. The starting position was really, really exciting. And yeah. So, yeah. So, thank you for watching this video, everyone. Again, like I said earlier, you can check out my Twitch. All of these games were played live. Actually, I think maybe the last game I didn't play live. I'm not sure. I can't really remember, but most of these games, at least 2 of them, were played live. And I'm still gonna be streaming more every weekday. And, you know, these were some really fun games. I'm probably gonna be making more videos like this because there's a lot of games, interesting games that I play, but, you know, don't feel like they can really be a full video. And, you know, you know, this video was pretty fun to make. So, yeah, again, thank you for watching, everyone. I will be coming out with more videos soon. And I'll see you next time. Bye.